Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today, friends, we have another exciting guest on the podcast like we tend to here. His name is Tom, and he's going to talk to us about the great things he's been doing. So welcome to the podcast, Tom.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Sure thing. If we get started by you kindly giving us an introduction to yourself, a brief biographical sketch.
I'm from a native of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm 65 years old. I got my start in engineering. I worked in factory automation, and I came up with an idea. One thing I'm known for, I pioneered kind of work from home accounting back in early 80s or mid 80s. Developed an idea, launched a business called Bookminders in the early 1990s. The company's still in business today. We have over 100 employees in 6 states and kind of a premier outsourced bookkeeping firm. But what's unique about it is it's almost an entirely women workforce, completely flexible business model, and we kind of came up with a unique way to compensate and build clients that implement a very fair system for them, and it just works. And the employees are happy, and the clients like the service. So I'm really proud about what we do with Bookminders.
Okay.
But the venture retired me. The people that came behind me, the women that run Bookminders, do a great job, and I was fortunate enough to have a lot of time to work on a passion project, and that is America's Main Street Party.
Okay, great. We love alternative parties here. We love to hear about new alternative parties. We love to hear different ideas about how politics should be organized and constructed and implemented. So we'd love to hear more about that. So please tell me how, because you started to tell us how you started after your business got to do very well. So please tell us more about it.
Well, it was during the COVID. I was worried I was going to lose everything. You know, in that March of 2020, I think none of us knew what the future might look like. And I was applying for PPP money. And I made a promise, you know, because I was watching on the news wondering, like, is partisan just going to kill us? I mean, it's just a fever pitch. And I made a commitment that if I got money for my business, I would pay it forward in some way, that I would try to figure out how to make the system less, you know, partisan. And I made a commitment not to run for office and not to change any laws, but I wanted to figure out basically this whole idea of gerrymandering, having people have these incredibly safe seats just bothered the heck out of me. You know, being a business person, having no competition on a really poor quality product and having no way to go in there and improve that, just was frustration beyond repair. And I personally don't believe a third ideological political party can work. So my purpose was really to use a political party in a different way. I'm just like, you know, family members that repurpose furniture. I'm repurposing our political committee system. I'm using a super PAC, a national party, local committees, and candidate committees in a very different way. So I'm operating within the rules. And my national party isn't an ideological party. America's Main Street Party is really a tech company. It's producing an app that creates a contest that allows anybody that runs for Congress. It's a free and equal nominating system based on a constitutional principle come up by James Wilson, the founding father who wrote the U.S. Constitution and the guy who added the words "and equal" to the free election clause. But Wilson believed that if elections were unfair, that the system would ultimately fail. And he said that free and equal elections were the fountain of democracy. So Wilson Fountain, there's a website called Wilson Fountain US, wilsonfountain.us. I worked with some college students at Penn and Drexel and Harvard, and we came up with this first research. Could we create a free and equal system as I kind of conceived? And I found a couple pre-law students at Penn who researched the federal election code, and there's a paper on the website that defines as our manual how to legally operate what I'm doing. You know, how a super PAC has to behave, how the national party has to behave, how the committees behave, and how the candidate committees behave. And if you implement the system the way we define, you will have a moneyless nominating system. And the first component of Wilson Fountain is America's Main Street Party. It's the app. And We built a prototype, and now we're creating a beta release.
Okay. So you said the prototype, and you said now you're creating a database?
The beta release. So
Beta release.
one of the things, yeah, beta release. So the college kids at Drexel built something that we could make videos and demonstrate what it would look like. So if you go to mainstreetparty.org, that's the party website, there is a proof of concept page, and there are demo videos on there that'll give you an idea of how this works. Even better
Okay.
yet, if you go to a web page called A Brand New Way, we produce a 1-minute video that explains the contest. But basically,
Oh.
it'd be like making the Olympics. It'd be a multi-round competition. There'd be a portal where candidates can put their public service announcements, their positions, their profiles. But it'd all be a level playing field. And, and constituents could go in there and find candidates that match their values and whittle the field over multiple rounds and come up with the true choices of people, not somebody that was picked by political leaders or rich donors in a back room and said, hey, here, this is your candidate in the primary. That's what happens now. Those super donors on both sides decide to line up behind an incumbent, and you can't knock them out. That's why there's 85-90% reelection rate. It's a system that lacks accountability.
Okay. Sounds great. So with the beta release, have you found people to test it, or are you looking for people to test it?
We're looking for people to test it. We're really looking for people to experience it. The beta release will be the app. It'll run a simulated contest in 2 districts, Pennsylvania 1 and Pennsylvania 2. They're both in Philadelphia. And they were both red and blue. And it's not a real thing. It's, these are avatar candidates. Say we've gone on the AI and photoshopped images of people but they're going to have real positions. But constituents will be able to see how their voice is heard, because one of the college students came up with this excellent idea. He said, we're going to have issue indicators, 7 issues for the election cycle. These are things that the local committee believes will be in front of Congress in the next election cycle. And our model is Iran, global trade, inflation, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. And then we pick like 2 local issues that would be germane to Philadelphia city and the Philadelphia suburban district. But you'd be, as a mock citizen, go in and say, hey, this is where I am on these positions, and we've got 100 candidates in there. How many match on my preferred issues? I mean, wouldn't you love that if today you could say, I am advancing and using something called approval voting. So you find, in a field of 75 or 100 candidates, and on your priorities, you might find 30 candidates to match your issues. You hit a button, approve them all. You don't even have to go look at them and see who makes the top 20. Now we're in the top 20. Maybe 8 of your 25 make the top 20. You could now research them, or you could let it ride, or vote for other people that you feel like, oh, I like this candidate. Now that I'm down to 20, get to the top 10. Or make it more like a reality contest, a good reality contest. Right now we have a bad reality contest. So, get to a top 4. Now we're going to do something called a virtual town hall, where the local committee will introduce new issues for the candidates to respond, to create new public service announcements, that the constituents can now evaluate. And we're thinking at this point, before we do a ranked choice to get to a top 2. But we always want to have a final debate round where it's down to the last 2 candidates, and that the winner, the nominee, is somebody who wins 50% or more of the public support for that nomination. And, it's a basically completely open, free, and fair primary.
Okay, that sounds good. So for the debate, a lot of people have criticized the way the debates have done, particularly in the last couple election cycles where they were particularly not mind-numbing. So how would you propose to change the debates, or maybe disagree with my assessment? So how do you plan to approach debates?
Are you talking about president?
Yeah.
This isn't for the president. This is just for Congress. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. This is a free and equal nominating system for Congress. We're only focused on House districts. We want to make being a House representative important again. Right now they're lackeys on both sides. Okay.
So you think the problem with debates is at the level of the presidency, whereas debates at different levels is okay?
Well, I don't even know if we have debates. We
Okay.
haven't really there isn't really a process, the 85 to 90% of the elections for Congress are uncompetitive.
Yes.
The primaries where something might happen, but if you're an incumbent Democrat or Republican, you're almost assured of reelection. And because of that, it allows an environment where people can lie and, not put party before country. We all complain about that. So I'm proposing a system where the only motivation they have is to win support from the constituents in this people's primary. And I think this will be very attractive to people who want to serve in Congress and do it ethically and not feel like they have to sell themselves out to the super donors of either party.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's a big problem we've talked a lot about in this podcast is money in politics. So yeah, that sounds
But this
great.
is not a really ideology. This is me using the political committee system, a super PAC, and that, what we have now is a 527 political action committee aspiring to be a national party. There are things that we can do to qualify. We have a national convention. Our national convention can be like a users group meeting. You have to recruit people to vote. We can do that. You have to have, I don't know, there's these 4 things that the college guys outlined that we have to do, and they're all things that we can do, and we've had attorneys validate that this is legal and can be done.
Okay, great. So
Harvard attorneys, by the way.
Harvard attorneys.
Yes.
Wow, that's great. So for the beta release, you said you're testing it in a couple of Pennsylvania districts because it's beta. Are you wanting the people who do the
No.
test to be in the districts, or can it be anybody?
The reason we chose Pennsylvania is we want everybody to download in the nation. The districts we pick ultimately, I don't think this will be ready in time for the midterm elections. But our
Okay.
approach is to more or less find, we're not looking for candidates. We're looking for districts that are ripe for disruption. And when I say that, there's a certain win margin where we think we can go in and split either the blue votes or the red vote
Okay.
because of the amount of dissatisfaction and create a situation where the opposition party people who've been buried by gerrymandering now have a voice. They can swing. If you're a liberal in a red district, you're not going to get a liberal representative, but you might get a pink conservative that's not affiliated
Oh.
with the Republican Party. And we're trying to flip that around. We want to create 2 money caucuses in Congress. A pink caucus, a baby blue caucus that aren't tied to either party and are really there for their constituents. We do that. The election of the speaker moves into the main chamber. And it's a completely moderating force.
Okay, that sounds great. That's innovative. The baby blue and pink conservative, as you call it. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, because I don't think you can have an independent party. That there are certain issues that just define people as left or right, and that
Okay.
our best bet is to create 2. And there's enough people in the House that you could create, a pink and baby blue caucus that aren't tied to either party, that are there because they survived a moneyless system. The party whips have no power over them.
Oh, great. Yeah, sure. That'd be great. So with this project is, how many people have been on the team that's been working on the project?
Adults. I'd say that there's a half dozen business professionals, executives, people with software backgrounds who've been involved in it. I probably have a dozen or so interns either working with Wilson Fountain or the party. I tried
Okay.
because the party, there's rules around donations and limits, and I can only put so much money into the party each year. We restrict any activities in there really to building the app and marketing the party. Wilson Fountain is a place where I can research the election law. That doesn't have to be tied to the party. There's papers that some of the students wrote that have kind of forecast to like what's the impact of taking money out of the elections? Does that quell extremism? Does it reduce the amount of spending on advertising? You know, there's like these different impacts that would have if we can figure out how to get money completely out of elections. And the reform efforts aren't doing anything to really completely eliminate money. They're just making the system less worse.
Okay, so you see them as not drastic enough, the reform efforts.
No, not enough. And
Okay.
they're fighting monopolies on their home turf. They're saying, hey, to do these things, we have to change laws, and they have to get that past lawmakers who don't want to change it. So that, this is not a recipe for success. If you think about how disruption occurs, monopolies usually don't go down to conventional competition. Somebody figures out a way around, and that's what I've done. This is a loophole. If you don't spend money if a potential person that wants to serve in Congress doesn't spend money, the system a party puts together falls outside the purview of the FEC. This is legal because all the people who wanted the nomination aren't spending money. The moment they spend the money, they have to open a committee. They're out of the contest. Now they have to beg for donors. Our contest winner gets backing by a super PAC. They know that they have the money to take down the incumbent Republican or Democrat. So our next goal is to attract that wealthy person who's going to back the super PAC and restore the voice of the people.
Okay, so you do want donors to this too.
It could happen one of two ways. I mean, there could be somebody who the law prevents me from doing the super PAC. You can't run a party and a super PAC at the same time.
Okay.
And so I need to find an ally, somebody I've done well, but not quite super PAC well. But somebody really, I think that there are people who are in the middle who are frustrated that they don't want to put their foot on either side. You think about, for me, it was like a guy like Ross Perot who, if he were alive today, I think he would love this idea because he recognized how messed up Congress was. And if he could just, fix it without being president, I think he'd think that'd be really cool. So if there's a Ross Perot-like person out there today that says, hey, I see the value in this. This is a way that it restores the voice of the people and that makes representatives accountable. And we need accountability.
Oh, yes. Yep. That's a big problem, lack of accountability. Yes, your idea is, like I've been saying, it's very innovative, and like you're describing it, it's not a direct attack, but it's going around the typical way things are run.
Exactly. And I'm 65 years old, and I figured if I got involved in changing a law, this change would happen long after I was dead. And there's really no progress that's being made in the election reform space. That in 2024, I think close to $100 million is spent on election reform efforts, and all efforts that were statewide failed. And the types of things that we're doing are real, federal office, that you need statewide reform, and they're not getting it. Doing ranked choice voting in a mayoral race doesn't do anything to break gerrymandering. I mean, so we are getting ranked choice voting in cities and but there's really not the kinds of problems in those types of races where it's really where the gerrymandering exists that you have to figure out a way to break that. And that is my goal in life, is to figure out how to disrupt gerrymandering.
Oh, wow, that's a great goal. So, Tom, you were telling me earlier about you have a video on the website that people can see to get a demonstration of the prototype. So is that the best way that they can learn more about this project and get involved in it? Is there other things they can do?
Yes, I'll kind of list them out. But yeah, if you go to mainstreetparty.org, there's a webpage called A Brand New Way. That is where you can see, like I said, there's a 1-minute recap of how the whole thing works. It was professionally produced. It's not the demo, but it explains the contest. And the web page itself explains the endorsement round, the virtual town hall, and the final debate,
Okay.
how that works and the voting works. There's also a page on MainStreetParty.org called Proof of Concept, and that's where the work from the college students is demonstrated, where you can see there's 4 videos that show the demo of the app as we have it. We will soon have more content, example of the app working on the website. We're painfully close. And but what we want people to do is really experience how the contest works, learn about it. Because if we ran this in election now, I mean, we'd fail. Like, people wouldn't understand it. So the beta version is just a way for people to see how it works. You don't have to be in Philadelphia to do it. Anybody will be able to get the security features are turned off. This is really just for people to try it out and see how candidates would progress through the rounds and win. And I think
Okay.
once people understand how how the voting works, they'll see, okay, this is way better than what we're doing now.
Okay, yeah, sure. So you said it's mainstreetparty.org, right?
Correct.
Terrific. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just really appreciate the opportunity for you to share the message. I did want to say the other thing is that if you're on the website, we're doing a change.org petition. And the
Okay.
one thing you can do that doesn't cost you anything, just costs you a minute, is to click on that link on our website, go to change.org, and sign up. If you can like us on social media, share, that is also appreciated. But at this point, we're trying to get traction behind the idea, get people to understand its impact.
Sounds good. So for social media, is your handle Main Street Party, or is it something different?
You can access all the social media links from mainstreetparty.org. They're in the top of our webpage there. That's probably
Okay,
the
great.
fastest way to get to. We're on everything.
Okay, terrific. Yes, Tom, thank you for coming on the podcast today talking about your innovative idea. We've had a lot of episodes over the few years we've done this podcast, and this is very unique, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a good day.
All right, take care. All the best.